And just like that, the year disappeared. Out with 2023, in with 2024. Well, so many things happened over 2023. We have to have a recap of at least the top 5 episodes.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 178 of Licensed to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, rate this episode and let me hear about so I continue to provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And today, it's all about the top 5. And we had so many really great episodes. There was a number of them clustered right at the top. So I probably should have given a top 10 episode for 2023. But we're going to keep it with a top 5. Despite all the ties, and I will get back with the countdown right after we finish thanking our sponsor.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
Well, starting in the number 5 spot, we have March Madness. And this episode was a play on the annual NCAA basketball tournament, but it did not have a whole lot to do with basketball. It really talked about achieving goals, getting to your goals, whether your goals are the championship or maybe something slightly less than a championship. But one of my favorite stories of this particular episode talked about my coaching days. Now, this is long before my days as a career coach, as an executive coach, as you guys know me today as Dr. Jarrett. But this takes me way back to my coaching days as a basketball coach. So check out this story. I enjoyed being a basketball coach once upon a time myself. I was a basketball coach for a bunch of 4th grade girls, including my daughter, many years ago. And had quite a bit of success. And me and my assistant coach, we started the season talking about, hey, we want to win the championship. The girls just wanted to have fun and they were here to play. But we said, hey, we want to make you guys the best players that we can make you. And if we can win the tournament at the end of the season, this will be great. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Now, some people who are familiar with the movie Coach Carter probably thought some of my antics would remind them of that movie. And they said, this guy's being tough on these girls. What the heck is going on? Because, if there was a little bit too much attitude or talk, we'd have to do running drills and conditioning and all the stuff that many of us as athletes used to hate when the coaches would do. But, hey, it was my chance at coaching. We wanted to coach a team. And the girls had some talent, but we wanted to harness some of that energy and talent. So we would spend practice after practice. We would work on some plays. We would work on some passing drills. We would definitely work on defense. And as the season started, we got to see that the girls had some pretty good skills together and they were able to play defense really well. We said, well, with defense, we can shut down teams. They won't be able to know what to do. And so we'd start off in some man-to-man defense just to get them going. Then, boom, we would call the play and they would switch into zone defense. And the zone shut the other teams down. They did not know how to score on our team. And those girls played so hard and they won a lot of games that year and, got lots of accolades. But before we could even make that championship run, guess what? All the other coaches got mad. They got angry. They came back and said, hey, you can't do this. You just can't do this. And they actually changed the rules mid-season saying that no one could play zone defense. Go figure. And that, started to unwind our championship run. And it leveled the playing field a little bit because we were coaching some advanced tactics and we had the girls passing and we say, nope, don't shoot that layup. Pass 4 more times before you take any shots. And they worked on their passing and their dribbling and lots of the fundamentals of the game and had some increased game IQ. And they had a great season. It was a lot of fun. And it's just one of the things you like to do as a dad. But having that eye set on the championship is not unusual for people that want to achieve. Well, this countdown is going to go very quickly because we are jumping right from the 5th most popular episode to the 2nd most popular episode because there was a 3-way tie. Now, some of you guys are asking, well, how do you know what is most popular and what is not? And what does all of this mean? So again, after we changed the rules in 2022, we said we are looking at the purely objective data here. We're looking at the number of downloads at the 30-day mark for each episode throughout 2023. Now, as you guys know, one of my big goals was to provide you a brand new episode every single week of the year, which I nearly did until I ran into some snags in late October and November. So I still probably got to you guys 40 plus episodes this year for 2023. And I plan to do even more for 2024. So despite having a little bit late start with the 2024 episodes, we are going to keep it on track. But we look at every single episode. We usually have the cutoff around November 30th, but we did not have any December episodes. So we ended up with a 3-way tie. So in no specific order, we had episodes Moving for a New Career, Unavoidable Collisions, and Time versus Money. And we'll start with the time versus money episode because we talked about this at quite a big expense because a lot of people are out here and want to find a better lifestyle for them to have, meaning they have more free time, more time to go to vacation, more time to spend with family and friends, just more time to sit back and veg, sit back and run a triathlon, whatever floats your boat, people are always looking for more time because people say, I don't have the time for this. Conversely, people say, I don't have the money for this. And a lot of time these two go together because what most people do for their life is trade time, which we all have limited time here on this earth, for money. And it depends on how much money for how much time. And I even saw people on some of the doctor chat groups that on Facebook that were cracking me up because one in particular was saying, hey, I'm a specialist. I make $900,000 a year. And if I want to go into a non-clinical career, they seem to pay on more like primary care rates. How can I have a non-clinical job and still get $900K a year? Well, interesting. And yeah, I put my comments in the post and left it at that. But there are a lot of people that trade time for money. And here is exactly how I broke it down in this episode. Life is too short. You are only given a certain amount of minutes on this earth, and you need to do the most with them. And so time becomes your most precious commodity in your life, but we don't always treat it like that. Because oftentimes we trade our time for money by way of a job that may pay you every 2 weeks. You may get some benefits, some health insurance. You definitely get some cash flow. And that is how you're trading your time. And so basically you're getting paid for your time, whatever that rate is, whether it's $15 an hour, whether it's $150 an hour, whether it's $400 or $500 an hour or more. Your time is a commodity. And when you are trading your time for money, which is a fair exchange, I mean, at some level that should happen in everybody's life at some point in order to, well, maybe do the things you want to do. Maybe you like to travel. Maybe you just like to live and exist and keep a roof over your head. No matter what those ambitions are, at some level, we trade our time for money. However, we often undervalue what that number should be or what that time commitment is. And if you do it yourself, you better believe other people will do it. And that comes in the form of, well, maybe you're not getting paid what you're worth. Maybe you feel like you do a little bit more for the job, for the place than what you get paid. And those feelings are pretty normal. And, every once in a while, if you're lucky, you might get a cost of living adjustment or maybe a flat out raise, maybe a different position or title if you're there. And if you do that, then, hey, that's going to be great. You know what? You'll be able to do exactly what you want to do and live that comfortable life. It won't take that much for you in order to do something different. And also in the tie for number 2 was moving for a new career. A lot of people, and I even noticed this in my clinical days too, that people just want to move for a change of pace. Sometimes they want to move for a change of weather, change of job, change of this, change of that. And when they go through all of that process of moving, they end up being very, 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 very short-sighted on what they want to accomplish. And when those goals aren't clear, simply moving to another zip code or another geographic location isn't going to be enough if everything else in your life stays the same. So you have to understand what moving is all about and why you are moving in the first place. And when you understand that, then maybe you can make a few different steps in your career to make everything work out a little bit more. So take a listen to what I said in this episode about moving for a new career. Well, some of you guys move jobs every 18 months, every 2 years, and you just like to move. And a lot of people out there don't end up getting what they wanted out of that move. They just got the headaches of a move. And unfortunately, things in life don't really change because, well, I just thought it was a new environment. I just thought I needed to move to a new place. Personally, I don't like to move. And if I would never have to actually move again, I would be okay with that. Although I want to live in other places, I just don't like to move. But I do remember a time when I needed to move jobs. I mean, early on in my early career days, I loved being a pediatrician, but I also loved leadership. And even after those first few years on the job, I knew that I wanted to do more. I knew that taking care of kids was fun, taking care of families was fun, but I also wanted to be a leader. And so I was about 3 years into my career as a pediatrician when the medical director was going to leave for a bigger and better job at another institution. I said, great, this is my opening to step in. And I said, I know the system, I know what I'm doing now, and I'll be able to help pick up the reins of this clinic and move on. Well, I knew I was ready for this. I felt charged up. I was like, let's go. So I looked and I said, I'm going to put my resume together. I'm going to get a little cover letter and I'm going to talk about wanting to be a medical director of a pediatric clinic. And well, I'll tell you what, it did not go as I thought it was going to go. I thought I was going to be the obvious choice. They could hire internally and move on. But the leadership of these clinics just really thought that I wasn't the guy. In fact, so much so that they didn't even want a pediatrician managing the clinic. They wanted to get a family doctor to do so, which was not a big deal at face value. But I felt as a pediatrician who would know pediatrics better than a pediatrician. Well, that was my take on things. And then the feedback came that stuck with me until this day. Well, you know what? I think eventually you would be a great leader for us, but you just need a little more seasoning. Yeah, a little more seasoning. Like I'm a piece of steak or something, and we're getting the sauce shaker out there. Shika, 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 shika. And the pepper grinder, crank, crank, crank. And just put a little more seasoning on me. Oh, well, as you see, that did not go over well with me. I just kind of felt like I was not even taken seriously. And that was the signal to me that maybe I don't have a future here. I'm just fine to be seeing kids every day. But if it comes to being a leader and making some change, they didn't see it. Well, then I didn't see it. And well, I started looking and I didn't have to look very far. Actually, I probably looked just outside of whatever restricted covenant was built into my contract, because ultimately I did not have to move, but I moved into a new position at another organization that put me up for a nice long run. Finally, in this three-way tie for second place, we had the unavoidable collisions episode. And this was really about Gwyneth Paltrow and her skiing accident. If you guys remember back in 2023, one of the big news headlines was Gwyneth Paltrow was somehow involved in a skiing accident on ski slopes, and someone was suing her years after this incident for ridiculous amounts of money. And this was no surprise because I paralleled it to many doctors, executives, lawyers, VIPs, people that have a higher profile. These people have, unfortunately, a big target on their back, much like I had when I went through my whole License to Live story, where people see physicians, healthcare executives as easy targets. They usually work for companies with big pockets. So let's make up a story and see how much money we can get. And that was really what the gist of the episode was about. So make sure you're protecting yourself. However, I couldn't leave this episode without telling you guys, all you fire starters out there, about the last time I was on skis. I will tell you the last time I was on skis, and I can remember it just like it was yesterday. I looked up at the sky that morning, could not wait to get out to the wide open beach. I looked up at that blue sky and that different shade of blue in that Caribbean Ocean, and I was ready to take on my day. With this day in particular, I said, I am going to water ski. Now, in my mind, I had it laid out. I knew what I was going to do. It would have looked just like those videos. I would have probably been hanging on with one hand, or maybe turned around backwards skiing in an S pattern, or maybe even, hey, no hands. Look, Mom, no hands. I have this thing held by my teeth. And so I was ready to get out there and get on the water. And I knew that it was going to be a great day. So I get in the water, get on my gear, have the skis on, and ready for the boat to start yanking me out the water to have fun like so many other people had been doing that day. I had difficulty getting out the water. They would start the boat and get it started. And it's starting to cut through the waves. Now I feel the tension, and now I'm trying to keep my feet underneath me, and now I'm trying to push myself and raise up out of the water, because it should be simple, right? I mean, come on, everybody else is just gliding around on top of this ocean like it's no big deal. Well, except all of those people before me, they were half my height, they were half my weight, they were definitely a different body type, and well, okay. I face planted a couple of times going to get up on these skis. And I was pretty determined, though. I mean, you guys know that I like a good challenge. I like to find a solution. And I said, all right, as I'm almost out of breath after a couple of face plants into the ocean, I said, whew, all right, one more try. Now, the captain was ready, had the boat fired up. Boom! Sounded like it was even more fired up and ready to go. They brought out some extra horses for the horsepower to tow me around in the ocean. The boat takes off like nothing. And I'm like, here we go. And I feel that strong tug of the rope, and I'm holding on for dear life. And I'm rising up out of the water. I said, this is it. Here we go. This is when the show begins. And just as I was coming up out of the water, my legs started drifting apart. And before I knew it, bing, snap. It was my right hamstring, and I went crashing down into the water. I was in immediate pain. I knew it had happened because I felt the pop, and I was like, now I'm stuck in the middle of the Caribbean in this 80-degree water while I'm probably pouring blood all into my leg. I may never make it out the ocean. I used every last bit of strength that I had in order to get myself back on the boat. I could barely drag my wet body into the boat. And I just stared up at the sun, out of breath, like, where did this day go wrong? And yes, folks, I still have not been on a set of skis since that day that has been etched into my mind with such great detail and pain and agony. And that's it. So now that we've settled this three-way tie for number 2, we will come back with our number 1 episode of 2023 right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
There were so many good episodes, and I was actually surprised at the data this year. I mean, I looked at the reframing failure episode. I looked at the roadblocks and detours episode, even the heart stopping moments when we talked about Damar Hamlin literally virtually dying on the field of football, only to be revived by medical staff and to go on to start playing again, even after having a near death experience on the field. Thought for sure that would be one of those. And of course, looking at the best jobs in America. So, like I said, there was a cluster of episodes that were right within one or two listens of the next run up. So maybe next year I might have to do a full top 10 list, but I'm going to keep it at top 5 because the number one episode of 2023 was about the inner practice of medicine. The inner practice of medicine episode was an interview conducted with our first Zen priest that we've interviewed on License to Live. And it's actually Dr. Wendy Lau. She's an emergency medicine physician. And in this episode, she talks about some of her tales of changing medicine and what medicine does for her by traveling and doing for others all across the world. But being mindful of practicing self-preservation and self-care within that. And that's what her new book and The Inner Practice of Medicine, which is also titled The Inner Practice of Medicine, is all about. So here we have Dr. Wendy talking about her pilgrimage to Nepal.
I went on this pilgrimage maybe 5 times and ended up being one of the co-directors of the trip. And it's ran out of the Zen center that I'm at now, Upaya Zen Center. And my teacher's been doing it for like 40 years. She started going to Tibet, like really high places, and taking people there, and then realized that the people there has not had any medical care. And there would accidentally be one doctor on the trip, and he would just be working the whole time, helping people, treating people, but not having the equipment or the medications that were needed. So then the next year they started bringing more medications and some equipment. And then it just became this trip where she brings doctors from the Western world, Europe, Canada, US, everywhere, to these very remote, high altitude places. At first to Tibet, and then to Nepal. So the villages that we go to are actually really high. My friend, one of my co-directors, who is a nurse from up there, is from a village called Do. That's 13,500 feet. So one of the highest villages in the world. So it takes us a while to get up there. The only way you can get up there is by walking.
Walking?
Yeah.
So you had to walk all the way up there.
Yeah. We started about, there's a village at 9,000 that has a tiny, tiny airport. And it's actually very scary. It's a runway between like 2 cliffs. And so the runway starts at a cliff and ends at a cliff. So it was a little scary.
Wow.
Yeah. So we walk up there. We take a month to go to all these different villages. There are different specialties of physicians with us. Also, we take Nepali physicians and also other practitioners. So we always take a traditional Tibetan medicine doctor because they trust him, and he's wonderful. He does pulse diagnosis. I don't even know what he does. He touches people's pulses, and he's able to tell if they're pregnant or whatever. And I'm like, he's accurate too. And we couldn't figure out what he was doing, but he was wonderful in teaching us that kind of slow bedside manner where he's holding someone's hand, looking in their eyes, and just really transmitting that kind of care. And so all of us Westerners, Western physicians would go into his tent and just watch this happen and just learn that kind of touching transmission of care. So yeah, we go for a month. We backpack up there. We have some mules that carry the medical equipment, but we're out there. What we carry is what we have. So sometimes we would, see something that really needs to go down to Kathmandu or a city, and we would fund to take them down. And that's been really amazing, like cases we've seen and things we've been able to do, which has been so touching.
Yeah, so she was doing all of that kind of work at altitude and really living in her purpose as a Zen priest, as not only she was having eye-opening experiences for her that helped her achieve a new level of success in her career, but it actually works very well for all of you. In fact, she gave us some very good advice, because all too often in these high-performing jobs that we tend to have, we're too hard on ourselves. She gives us the advice to be easy on yourself, give yourself permission and grace, and allow yourself time for the things that you need. And we can listen to it right here.
I mean, we're so hard on ourselves. As a culture, how we were brought up in education that is primarily competitive. So we are so hard on ourselves. And especially for all you out there, we call them fire starters.
Yes.
They are all
fire
professional. Starters. Yeah. Doctors, lawyers, all the professional people who has succeeded in this kind of education means that we're skewed towards competitiveness and perfectionism, right? And so we kind of treat ourselves like we're workhorses. We just kind of push ourselves through, and are blinded because we are only just doing the next thing. We're going for it. We're pushing ourselves through, and in that process, a lot of us are so harsh on ourselves, and we talk to ourselves in ways that may not be the kindest, right? So we kind of, I talk to so many physicians and I ask them, when things are wrong, how do you talk to yourself? What do you say? What is your internal dialogue? And a lot of them have some pretty harsh things to say. And that comes guilt and shame. And so one of the things that I really want people to look at is how they treat themselves within themselves. And also, I think you make a really good point with your book with the affirmations. I haven't been able to get that book yet because it's on paper only, and I tried to order it, didn't come in time. But from your book, I could hear that you're so upbeat, and that kind of affirmation is what we need to kind of overcome this kind of negative bias that we've built up. And as doctors, it's even worse because we're trained to see what's wrong, right? So we are trained to see what's wrong with everyone else. So we're trained to see what's wrong with ourselves. We're trained to see what's wrong with our relationship. We're trained to see what's wrong with our house or whatever. And then we get stuck with what you call the golden handcuffs. And so we just try to perfect everything. And we got to give ourselves a break.
So to all you fire starters out there, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening to this show. I would not continue to produce this show and bring it out if you weren't there. Always reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to me on social media, or you can just reach out to us at info@drjarrett.com anytime you want to hear more information about any of the topics we talk about. I am looking forward to delivering you another great season of good things that will happen for you and yours in 2024. I'll see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.